Another massive bank has shown exposure to the Bitcoin ETF. A big day for the ETFs altogether. Over $300 million flowed into Bitcoin. We have a report from Bitwise CIO. How many institutions and companies have exposure to Bitcoin through Q1 of this year? And what can we expect it to grow to over the next 2-3 quarters to end out the year? We're also talking about some Ripple news, a pretty big partnership. Also, speaking of partnerships, Tether has partnered with a layer 1 blockchain in the top 10. What does that mean? What is it more bullish for? Should we be taking a look at Toncoin? Is it worth the shot? We're going to talk about that. Also, as AI continues to grow, there are some projects in the AI sector of crypto that could potentially make you a lot of money. We're going to discuss some of those. Also, the long-awaited ruling and voting on SAB 121. It is now going to President Biden's desk. Will he veto it like he said he did? And what does it mean if he does? Or what does it mean if he doesn't? Is that bullish for crypto? We're going to discuss that. We got Forrest joining us. We have a lot to talk about. Let's get started. Hello, hello, hello. Are you going to do Robin Zola?
I don't really want to yell right now, though.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
Fair enough. That's okay.
All he does is yell.
That's a great point. I'm joined today by none other than Miss Ashley.
Hey.
Of course, Rocco on the ones and twos. And my man, Forrest. Forrest, how you doing, bro? I'm assuming you said I'm doing great because Robin's not here. I think that's what I got.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Forrest, 40%, man. 40%. Got, buy Robin out and just me and Rocco, man. What do you say?
You need a hologram projector so I can be in the middle of the desk, right? Don't even have to come in.
We're getting a LED wall back here, so maybe we'll just have your face permanently on the.
We can make it happen.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. We got a lot of exciting things to talk about today. So let's start with the Bitcoin ETF. And so yesterday's flows, pretty good. We had the leader was Fidelity, which brought in $131 million of inflows. You want to look just above the green row here. BlackRock, 0. ARK brought in $86 million. Then we got positive flows from everyone, including Grayscale, which saw a net flow of positive $27 million, which brought our cumulative total to a inflow of $303 million. Forrest, it's almost like a race to announce who's the next big money manager, the next big hedge fund, investment advisors that have exposure to Bitcoin. The big one here for today is Millennium Management has disclosed $2 billion in Bitcoin ETF holdings. Millennium held a total of $1.94 billion across 5 Bitcoin spot ETFs, which include ARK, Bitwise, Grayscale, BlackRock, and Fidelity's product. I want to share this tweet from Macroscope. Major filing after the market closed today. Of course, this was yesterday. Next to Wisconsin's yesterday, certainly one of the most important Bitcoin disclosures to date, and it will get huge attention from asset managers. Millennium discloses the following positions. So the 5 I listed, the majority of them are in BlackRock and Fidelity, $844 million and $806 million respectively, followed by $202 million in Grayscale, $45 million in ARK, and $44.7 million in Bitwise. Millennium is now the largest holder of the IBIT and Fidelity ETFs. Then this as well. Millennium is king of the Bitcoin ETF holders at about $2 billion across 4 ETFs. This is out of over 500 holders, about 200x the average for a new ETF. Majority are investment advisors, which is 60%, but a big dose of hedge funds, 25%. Never can be totally sure what hedge funds up to, but they were definitely big buyers. So, Forrest, we've had hedge funds, investment advisors. We've had state pension funds, right? The one from Wisconsin, which we believe we shared on Monday. This is pretty bullish. On the show yesterday, we shared there was one company who put in 23% of their AUM into the Bitcoin ETF, which obviously is a pretty high number. The number we kept hearing was 0.5 to like 1, like highest max 5%. You got companies 23%, you got pension funds on a state level, you got $2 billion. I mean, what are your thoughts on how far we've come on the Bitcoin ETF, where we are, and what's your outlook moving forward?
Yeah, obviously, a lot of this is just improved accessibility, and the fact that it's wrapped up in an ETF makes these and custodied by Coinbase or whoever's the custodian for whichever ETF. I believe Coinbase is the custodian for the most of the majority of these, but it's very clearly that just capital is spilling over. Capital is flowing into Bitcoin. It's spilling over, and I think a lot of these funds probably bought in Q1, I believe, based on these 13F filings. So a lot of that is probably what drove Bitcoin up from 38,000 or so after the post ETF dip, all the way up to 70,000. So probably a lot of buyers in that $40,000-$50,000 region. The other thing to keep in mind here is that all of these funds, especially I don't know which one has 23% AUM, but a lot of these funds may be engaging in something else other than just spot Bitcoin holding. For example, like some of these funds, they might be short MicroStrategy and then hold the Bitcoin ETF to basically be shorting MicroStrategy's premium on Bitcoin. That's just one example. They could be short Bitcoin futures. They could be a little bit more delta neutral or in a specific type of trade versus just holding these ETFs for their upside potential. But still, that's still a lot of inflows that are coming into the ETFs. I think that's really, really bullish.
Forrest, we always talk about inflows, but obviously, there's also outflows. Once we get to a point where a majority of the asset managers, the investment advisors, the pension funds have their exposure to Bitcoin, right? Inflows are probably going to, slow down or at least taper off a little bit. What's the other side risk? Obviously, we know markets, they're, people buy in, people sell out, but could we see if the macro turns grim or the Fed has to start bailing out or we get into a recession? Do you think we could see a bigger drawdown for Bitcoin in bear markets now that these institutions who have billions and trillions of dollars, they're going to have potentially in the Bitcoin ETF? Could we see more volatility to the downside as Wall Street has shown, they don't give a crap about Bitcoin 10 years from now. If they've made a 4 or 5X and they feel like the markets are getting ready for a downturn, they might just exit their positions completely or bring those levels down. What about that side of the equation of these ETFs, the outflows?
Sure. It's definitely possible depending on the severity of any type of recession. Look, if we get a recession and if that recession is really, 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 really bad, right? I know everyone loves to be like, rah, Bitcoin's, it's only going to go up in the long term. Sure. But when the S&P 500 is down 50 to 60%, that's going to change a lot of people's opinions on Bitcoin. And all of a sudden, people aren't going to be, in my opinion, as concerned with Bitcoin as they are just surviving and getting by. Especially these funds and institutions that are just going to be trying to survive a recession. Look, it depends on how bad a recession gets. I think Bitcoin can still see 50, 60, 70% drawdowns in a bear market. And that's why I think it's the best idea, in my opinion, to just be continuing to play the market cycles, play the halving cycles, play the market cycles. They've been very, very accurate so far from a timing perspective. Every 4 years, we see Bitcoin go on a big bull run. And then every 4 years, we see a bear market. And I know everyone's going to want to be like, this time's different. We're not going to see a bear market. But I would imagine at some point, Bitcoin will top out and we'll see a bear market. It's happened the last 3 times, the last 4 times. So I don't know why it wouldn't again.
But this time is different, Forrest. I'm kidding. It's funny. A lot of the banks that were so negative on Bitcoin are finally starting to come along here. So Morgan Stanley becomes one of the top grayscale Bitcoin holders with just shy of $270 million of investment into the grayscale Bitcoin ETF. This makes Morgan Stanley one of the top holders of GBTC, second only to Susquehanna International Group with a $1 billion investment. Institutional investors' interest in Bitcoin is generally considered an extremely positive phenomenon, yet some experts believe that it has another side. This is a quote from Iva Wisher, co-founder and COO of Prom. Interesting, never heard of that company. It's a double-edged sword, bringing both benefits and new challenges for the market. This influx of institutional money can enhance liquidity, reduce volatility, and provide a more structured investment environment. However, it also attracts more regulatory scrutiny as authorities aim to ensure investor protection and market integrity. Typically, that wouldn't be a bad thing, right? But, you know, with the people we have here in the U.S., Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren included, I can see that side of it. What are your thoughts on that statement, Forrest? And what are your thoughts on Morgan Stanley? And then we'll kind of get into the Sob 121 here, where could we potentially see the floodgates open with as far as banks being able to custody your people's Bitcoin? But what are your thoughts on Morgan Stanley? And what are your thoughts on the risk here that this Iva Wisher said, hey, because Bitcoin is going mainstream, we could see some unfavorable regulation. Is that something you're so worried about, Forrest?
Regulation with regards specifically to Bitcoin, I'm not nearly as concerned about. I mean, it's already got an ETF, right? It's kind of already won that battle. Like, I know we're going to get into like some of the discussions around banks potentially being able to custody it, but I think there's enough people, especially in Congress, Lummis and I forget the other person's name, but I'm sorry,
Kristen Gillibrand.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's enough people, I think, that are championing the cause of Bitcoin that I'm much less worried about, laws coming in or regulations coming in specifically against Bitcoin. I'm not a big Bitcoin regulatory risk. I don't have a lot of concerns about that. But overall, like Morgan Stanley buying Bitcoin, at the end of the day, is this just a reflection of demand from people, right? I don't think I think if people in general drive up the price of an asset and create a $1 trillion asset, all of a sudden banks have to just pay attention to it. If they can ignore it, and they can ignore it at 50 billion, they can ignore it at 200 billion, they can ignore it at 400 billion. But once it gets to $1 trillion, they just can't ignore it anymore. So I think the bigger Bitcoin gets, the more you're just going to see people and large institutions bend the knee a bit and realize, hey, we got to have some exposure to this, because if it continues to grow at this pace, we could get left out.
Amen to that. Some things are, you got to prove yourself, right? Bitcoin had to prove itself. I'm just curious, seeing this pent up demand now, what if, 2-3 years ago, because we know like companies like Grayscale have been trying to push for this ETF for a while. And what if we had this ETF 2-3 years ago, and now we're 2-3 years removed from that? Like, where would Bitcoin be? It's always something that kind of is very curious to me. Like, has the SEC literally hamstrung the potential of Bitcoin? Could Bitcoin have already been at $250,000, $300,000 by now if 3 years ago, when people were really excited about launching an ETF, but Gary Gensler kept saying no? What could that have looked like? Just something interesting to kind of keep in mind. I do want to share this from Eric Balkunas. IBIT, which is BlackRock's ETF product, ended up with 414 reported holders in its first 13F season, which is mind-boggling, blows away the record. Even having 20 holders as a newborn is a big effing deal, highly rare. Here's a look at how total Bitcoin ETFs compare to other ETFs launched in January, and it's not even close. I mean, Fidelity's up here, Bitwise, ARK, and of course, BlackRock is up here. And I also want to share this tweet from Matt Hogan, who will be joining our show on Monday. Super excited to have him join us. The data is corrected, no change. So 13Fs are in for Q1. 944 firms with more than $100 million report owning Bitcoin ETFs. Collectively, they own $10.7 billion, already a massive success and just a down payment on what is to come. That's pretty, I mean, Forrest, almost 1,000 institutions, firms have that have over 100 million. That doesn't include the ones that have under 100 million. Almost 1,000 that have over $100 million of exposure to Bitcoin through the ETFs. I mean, in 4 months, that is huge. 5 months. That's pretty massive, man. I don't know how you can't be bullish on BTC. Then I want to share this from Juan Leon. I also believe it works at Bitwise, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Met with a $500 billion U.S. private bank to discuss investing in Bitcoin. The most urgent question their CIO had was, clients are asking about Bitcoin more than ever before, and our advisors don't have good answers. How can you help us educate our advisors quickly? Education is crucial for adoption of a nascent asset class. And talks about Bitwise, what they've been doing for the last 7 years. Do you think that could potentially be a hindrance for us? Because, you know, it's not like, oh, look, it's a commodity, it's a precious metal. You can have some, or something that people are familiar with. You're talking about a new concept, a new technology that is pretty much like, it's not tangible, right? It exists on the internet. Some people have a hard time believing that. Do you think that is something moving forward that is going to get better? Or do you think this is still going to be a big sticking point for people who just aren't comfortable offering a product or talking about a product because they just don't understand it and it's too confusing maybe for them to understand?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's always been something that Bitcoin's, you know, that's probably held Bitcoin back a little bit, you know, in terms of adoption, is people just not understanding it. Ideally, like an asset's just really like gold, silver, like it's physical, tangible, very easy to understand. There's only so much gold on the planet Earth, like therefore it's, you know, somewhat scarce. People, or scarce, I'm not going to say somewhat scarce, it is scarce. Like people, once you cross into like the computer science digital realm, people really, you know, lack understanding there. That being said, there are just a ton. It's not like the early days where you had to go and read posts by Satoshi Nakamoto on forum threads to understand what Bitcoin actually was. Now there's just tons and tons of resources out there to read about Bitcoin, and you can do a quick Google search, what is Bitcoin, and get a pretty decent understanding within about, you know, 5 to 10 minutes of reading or research. So yeah, I mean, it's not something that I think is going to hold Bitcoin back. It's something that Bitcoin's always battled, and Bitcoin's performed well despite that. So yeah, there's always going to be that group of people though, that, you know, they're not going to invest in AI, they're not going to invest in Bitcoin, they're not going to invest in, you know, whatever, just because they don't understand it. And look, to be quite honest, like I genuinely believe most people should, you know, take the 5, 10, 15 minutes of research to understand what Bitcoin is. That being said, if you do not understand something, I respect people that don't invest in things that they don't understand. You know, that's like one of Warren Buffett's famous quotes, one of the reasons he doesn't invest in crypto. But that being said, don't be lazy. Take 10 to 15 minutes to understand Bitcoin and crypto in general.
Also, don't be lazy and hit the like button. Support the channel. I do want to share this meme. These are the 55K sellers looking at the Bitcoin price. Can you imagine holding on from 17 of the drawdown to $16,000 and then freaking out because I don't know why and selling Bitcoin at 55? Shame on you. Shame on you. Unless, of course, you needed the money to pay bills. I want to share this video from Mike Novogratz talking about narratives and Bitcoin moving forward. Let's take a listen.
Ex-president and candidate Trump came out and said, I'm going to be the crypto president. He got on stage with a guy named Ryan Selkis, who's a big guy in the crypto community, and said, you know, there's enough people that like crypto that I'm going to support crypto. So in one day, you had one candidate saying crypto good and one candidate saying crypto bad. And I got on TV today, I was like, it's kind of like the Democrats went out and said, we don't like dogs. Like, people do that. There are more crypto owners in America than there are dog owners. Right? 65 million people own a dog. 85 million people own crypto.
Forrest, we haven't gotten your take on this, but obviously Trump's NFT dinner at Mar-a-Lago said, I'm okay with crypto. Is that something that you feel like is just lip service, or do you think that's something that truly, if he does get in office, it would be bullish for crypto?
Yeah, I think it'd be, I mean, like, especially when you compare the alternative, like, look, you have one party that is very anti-crypto, and that extends to other people in the party, not just the presidential administration, but you've got like Elizabeth Warren, who's like, has an anti-crypto army, right? Literally is used that term, like an anti-crypto army, versus the other candidate who has NFT projects. That meeting at Mar-a-Lago was a reward for buying NFTs. He's got NFT projects on Polygon. He's got an Ethereum wallet with ETH in it. He's got an Ethereum wallet with $6 million worth of Trump token in it, which is a meme coin. Like, it's exactly what Mike Novogratz said. You've got one pro crypto guy and one pro crypto side, and you've got one anti crypto side. When it comes to the effects of regulation and legislation around crypto in the future, it's just very clear. Like I know people vote on more than one issue, but it's very, very clear. And, you push all the other issues to the side, and I'm not saying people should vote based on that. I'm not just going to get political on any other issues, but it is very, very clear which party is pro-crypto and better for crypto. And it is very, very clear which party is anti-crypto and worse for crypto. It's just super clear. And that's just, it is what it is.
My thing is, even if it is lip service, right? From Donald Trump, is he going to do worse than what the Biden cronies have done and the Biden administration has done? Probably not. And so that's kind of what I take a look at. We're going to get into the SOB 121 here and what that could potentially mean for Bitcoin and crypto. But first, I want to give a big thank you to today's channel sponsor, Legacy Network. If you're into personal development, like let's say time management, and believe me, I have a hard time. 3 kids trying to take them to soccer, this, and dad play games with me and go shoot on me outside, doing the show, doing other things, making money. Time management is a big thing for me. And with Legacy app, you can do that, plus make money on top of it. If you want to learn more about Legacy Network and the Legacy Academy, click the link in the description, join their Telegram, and be one of the first people to download their app once it goes live. Now, SOB 121 has been a big talking point. And for those of you that haven't been following or don't know or might need a refresher, it essentially made it extremely difficult, probably just non-existent, for the banks to be able to custody crypto for their clients because they have to put it on their balance sheet. And so that just completely is like, oh, no, we can't do that. So Congress decided to repeal it. It first passed in the House. Today, it passed in the Senate. This is also the memo Joe Biden put out a few days ago saying, if they pass it, I will veto it. So it's passed. Will he veto it? He's got 7 days. If he does nothing, that means it goes into law, I think. But if he vetoes it, what could that potentially mean? I want to share a quick clip here from Senator Warren at the Senate hearing today about SOB 121. And we'll just watch a couple minutes of this and just kind of listen to her back up her friend Gary Gensler.
Our vote today is on a staff accounting bulletin issued by the SEC back in the spring of 2022. Now, the SEC has issued these bulletins, they're called SABs, for nearly 50 years without anyone ever suggesting that they were subject to the CRA. The CRA has a time limit for a reason, so that settled law is settled law, something that everyone can count on. And the CRA is limited to agency rules so that a single member of Congress can't tie up agencies and Congress with expedited procedures under the CRA by raking over the details of every agency action. Today's vote coming more than 2 years after the SEC wrote the bulletin, and applying to a staff bulletin rather than a rule is far outside the scope of the CRA. We should not be holding this vote, and all by itself, that is a good enough reason to vote no. But let's talk about the substance of this SAB for just a minute. Fairness of our markets depends on transparency. Investors in pension funds and 401ks and workers who are trying to save for retirement all have a right to know what they are investing in. Securities and Exchange Commission is the guardian of those financial disclosures that give investors information about a company's business plan, about its leadership, and about the risks that it faces in the market. So to help public companies disclose information about their business in a consistent way from one business to another so that investors can make comparisons, the SEC issues staff accounting bulletins, these SABs, to clarify guidance about emerging issues in the accounting industry, how to tell people about this business. SAB number 121 was published to provide accounting guidance to companies that hold customers' digital assets. It says that because of some of the unique technological and legal risks associated with digital assets, public companies that safeguard crypto assets for their customers should make the risks associated with holding those assets visible to investors. One way that this risk shows up is that if a company safeguards property for someone, just an ordinary company is holding property for someone like stocks or bonds or jewelry, the company bears the risk that the property could be stolen. And that is why companies that hold property for others carry insurance, and it's why they have really big safes. But if the company safeguards crypto, there is a special risk that's not there with other kinds of property. Crypto can get hacked. In fact, there have been some pretty major crypto hacks in which assets just vanish. The risk isn't theoretical, it is real. FTX, $600 million, poof. Binance, $586 million, poof. Ronin Network, $625 million, poof. And Poly Network, $611 million, poof.
Poof. I wish our deficit can go poof, but we can't because, keep spending money. So that is her thing. And then we have this from Nick Carter. So SAB 121 passed. Not enough votes to override a veto, but still a landslide. Is Biden really going to further embarrass himself by dying on this hill? Forrest, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? I mean, it's pretty. I think the vote went 60. Let me see if this one has it. It went 68 to 30, I believe. It was almost 2-1 on yes, repeal it versus no, don't repeal it. And so you're talking about, and this is a Senate that is controlled by Democrats. Pretty interesting to see them overturn it. And don't think it's because they care about crypto. It's because this is what the banks want. The banks don't want to, the banks literally have a 0% reserve ratio. So that means for every $10 that you deposit in the bank, they legally have to have 0 in assets backing it. This number used to be in the 2, 3, 5%. Now it's 0 post-COVID. With digital assets, though, they wanted to make it, the SAB wants it to, for every dollar of crypto they have to have $1 of reserve assets on there. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't, which is why they want it repealed. What are your thoughts on this, Forrest? How bullish could this be for Bitcoin if Wells Fargo, Bank of America, your neighbor's favorite bank, the one they bank with, they can now have their Bitcoin custodied by their bank, their financial institutions that they trust with their fiat currency, with paying their bills out of their account and everything?
Yeah, I've got contrarian opinions on this compared to most of the crypto ecosystem. Like, why are you giving your Bitcoin to a bank? Like, why are you giving your crypto to a bank? Why? I mean, I see no, like, it just doesn't even end well. Like, if banks go under all the time, are they going to keep and then it's like, I don't know specifically what the requirements would be in terms of whether they keep everything 1-to-1 backed, or if they have to keep everything insured. But I mean, to be fair, hacks do happen. You had Prime Trust, who is completely incompetent at custodying crypto, and they lost their private keys. Imagine Wells Fargo losing private keys. I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, is Wells Fargo a crypto expert? No. I mean, the other thing with this is I think this would be terrible for Coinbase. Like, Coinbase is the de facto like crypto custodian in the space, and now all of a sudden, if banks can custody crypto, like, okay, why is Coinbase? That's competition coming in for crypto custodianship for Coinbase, which would be bad for Coinbase, which is what it is. I mean, that's fine. But I just think the whole idea of custodying crypto at a bank is so backwards compared to like why crypto exists in the first place, that it's just like, I could care less if this gets vetoed or not. Like, it just makes no sense to me whatsoever. And I know like everybody's like, yeah, we want this because it would be bullish for crypto, and the banks would have like, don't keep your crypto in a bank. Just don't. Like, there's so many better places to keep it than in a bank. Keep it at Coinbase before you keep it at a bank. I'm pretty sure Prime Trust was a bank, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that. Yeah, this is just bizarre and weird. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really like give a, to maybe back up my opinion with the kind of, facts and logic that I should, but it just from a 10,000 foot view just seems so weird. Like, Bitcoin is about self custodianship and about cutting out the middleman and cutting out banks. It's just bizarre to me. I don't know.
Forrest, I was going to ask you, let's say your mom or dad, or let's say a friend of yours who has zero idea about crypto, hasn't been in the space, doesn't know anything. Would you tell them to buy and hold their crypto at a Bank of America or Wells Fargo, or to open an account at an exchange like Coinbase? And I think you kind of answered that question, right?
Coinbase or ETF, which is custodied at Coinbase. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. You just get to a point where there's already custody solutions through Coinbase that are really, really solid. And I don't feel like we need more at banks. And I just don't trust banks in general. I'm a big fan of self-custodying your own crypto. Why don't you trust the banks? And if you can't do that and you're just looking for a speculative position on Bitcoin as an asset, we have ETFs for that now. So just open up your TD Ameritrade or your Schwab account and buy some of the Bitcoin ETFs.
Why would you not?
I don't know. Like, I know that's not popular.
I can't imagine the banks doing anything to lose your trust. Why would you not trust them?
Exactly.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't got to answer that. I'm going to get a little conspiracy here, but there's something that happened before. If Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, if they threaten the dominance of the dollar, we saw what happened in the 30s, where the government pretty much made everyone hand over their gold. Do not be surprised, right? Shouldn't come as a shock if one day, I'm not saying this is for sure going to happen, but it's not something you should completely write off. If one day the government comes in to these ETFs, right? Coinbase, banks, if this thing gets overturned and people start custodying, saying, yeah, we're going to need all the Bitcoin. We'll give you the dollar value in dollars, but we're going to need the Bitcoin. Don't be surprised.
That's what Robinhood did.
I'm just
Solana.
Saying.
They sold all their customers Solana at like $10 or $12 or something.
So that, to me, that's a real threat, right? Because Bitcoin and just crypto as a whole is a threat against the financial institution at the government level, right? And so you take a child's lollipop away, they cry. You take the government's ability away to just print money into oblivion without having any real consequences. I don't know. You think they're just going to be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's time for us to do the right thing, guys. It's time for us to move in a way where it's, good and equitable for everyone, and we're going to stop printing money into oblivion and just decreasing people's value and money they hold, and we're going to do the right thing. Hell no. They're going to keep that money printer on as long as possible. Eventually, it'll all come crashing down. Could we get to a point where we saw what happened in the 30s with gold? I don't know. I'm just saying, if you got self-custody, might want to take some boating trips. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about Bitcoin here. I thought you were laughing at me. Sorry.
No.
Ashley's over here drinking her coffee. I thought she was laughing at me. I was like, please, get enough of that from friend Robin over here. How's that coffee, by the way?
Oh, it's so good. Thank you.
Yeah, it was very annoying ordering it.
I thought you were going to order on the app.
I did
That's why
order
I
on the
sent you a
app, but I had to go
screenshot.
through 20 different customizations and 4 pumps of this and 2 scoops of this. And anyways, I hope you enjoy it.
No
I
spoon?
do. Thank you.
Yeah.
No spoon for the Frappuccino?
Oh yeah.
That too.
She didn't ask for spoon. Oh, that's
Not.
only in Italy, Rocco, not in America. Let's get into this Bitcoin and the markets here. So, Forrest, if you want to pull up a BTC chart, I'll kind of go over this and we'll talk about where Bitcoin is. So, Bitcoin price prediction as U.S. core inflation data is released. Is the bull market about to start? So, obviously, CPI numbers came in yesterday, and Bitcoin surged 7.5% to over $66,000. We are currently sitting at sub 65K for Bitcoin. Forrest, what does the Bitcoin chart look like? Is it bearish that we didn't, have, I know we got, 8% to the upside, but a lot of people are saying, hey, we're going to retest that 67.5, 70K. We're kind of pulling back. Does the chart still look bullish? Does it look bearish? Well, what are we seeing here?
Chart looks fine. I'd say leans towards bullish. Obviously, what we don't want to do is we ideally we don't want to come back and attack the bottom of the range again. Like, I just don't want to see that happen. So like we talked about at length was, the plan was to look to de-risk if we broke out of this symmetric triangle, which we did. Unfortunately, alts kind of front ran the spill off versus Bitcoin. So it became difficult to de-risk if you were already in alts. So kind of had to just kind of ride down the bounce, look to, maybe bid there. And then on the second wave down, we a deviation below our 59K low. We talk how a revalidation, and if we zoom into like maybe the 4 hour, the price action becomes much cleaner. A revalidation above 59K actually looks very bullish. That's where I actually added a lot of stuff back and added along positions, right? And then we just took off from there. We broke the downtrend line. Let me zoom back out to maybe the 12 hours. So this is a little bit clear. We that downtrend level, right? This red downtrend level. We kind of have the midpoint of our range, which we're currently testing. Right? We'll just draw that right there. Right. We had the bleed off. Right. I'll zoom back into like maybe the hourly because kind of tipped. Gave us a tip as to this, big pump yesterday. We saw this expanding volatility pattern, right? We saw expanding volatility holding this trend line going into CPI. And that to me was bullish. We looked to add before CPI. And then we've now pushed up to the, top of this, funnel, so to speak. And we've broken through our previous high. So now what we have is trend. We have market structure reversing from a bearish trend to a bullish trend. Which is, pretty straightforward, and it's exactly what we want to see. Now, it's going to take some time for this to potentially play out. Like even when we were going from, this sideways trend to this downtrend, right? Big pullback back to the upside, right? So don't be surprised if you get a, big pullback back to the downside. I would personally like to see us kind of hold this region of around 64 to 65K, kind of these highs around here, continue upwards. But right now we just have we've set our low. We came up and we made a high. We came down and we made a higher low, which was above our range low, which is bullish, right? On the back of our, downtrend level. And now we've come up and we've made a higher high. So we've got a higher low and a higher high. That is bullish. That is a bullish trend forming. And we could take them all the way back down to 61, 62K while maintaining this trend and setting another higher low. Look, if we go down to 61, 62K, it's going to be pretty painful for altcoins. Altcoins will probably bleed off quite a bit, but just know that the market structure for Bitcoin all the way down to about 62,000 is still bullish, and you start to get really good risk reward on long positions on Bitcoin around that 61, 62K level. If it gives you that entry, great. I think where we're at right now is where we'd like to see this thing hold. We'd like to see this thing start to curl back upwards and send us, back up to 70, 71K. I do think we'll get quite a bit of resistance. I think we'll have the range highs, be an obstacle. But if we do break through range highs and start, price exploration, then you definitely want to have an allocation to crypto at that point, because things will probably start getting pretty. But for right now, no reason to be bullish while we are in this range, especially while we are in bullish market structure form. What gets me bearish is if we poke our head back out to the bottom of this range, right? If we start or more so than that is we start taking out that low, right? We start taking out our more recent low, then we bearish, and then we start testing the bottom of the range, breakthrough, that's bearish. We can come all the way down. Okay. In which case I'm a buyer down here, but just generally bullish until something like this happens. If we come back down here and make a new low, a lower low, then that's problematic.
Awesome. Forrest, charts aside, I want to ask you, ETH is trading under 3,000. The token is now inflationary again. We shared news yesterday that Solana, for the first time ever in a 24-hour period, produced more economic value. This is how much was paid in fees and for the network than Ethereum. Starting to hear a lot of Ethereum is, I want to say dead, well, although some people are saying it, but a lot of people fading ETH. Is this a spot where, ETH might be a good place to get in? What's your overall sentiment on Ethereum going into this market?
I don't think ETH is dead. I think the trade for ETH is to wait for a Ethereum ETF rejection and then buy ETH off of any sort of spillage, right? So you basically want to buy at the most bearish sentiment possible, and ETH has just been slow bleeding. In order for trends like large long-term trends to reverse, usually you need like a big capitulation or a big blow off top to start moving in the other direction. So what I would want to see to be long ETH is a big capitulation to the downside due to like an Ethereum ETF rejection. Everybody's just gives up on ETH, sells ETH, it's dead. You get it at a really cheap price in relationship to the rest of the market. Probably a good pickup, because I think a Ethereum ETF will probably eventually go through. Maybe not in May or June, but maybe sometime towards the end of the year or next year. Especially if we get a changeover in administration, presidential administration. So no, I don't think ETH is dead. I've long since been a Solana bull. I've said Solana is probably going to trend more and more towards Ethereum's fully diluted market cap. I think it'll be valued closer and closer to parity with Ethereum. And we're seeing it's at parity on a lot of metrics, a lot of, DEX volume, value transfer, whatever metrics you look at it. It's right there with Ethereum competing in a lot of different metrics. So I think it'll eventually, trend up towards Ethereum's market cap, and, Ethereum's market cap may trend down towards Solana's, but no, I don't think ETH is dead. And I think there's still money to be made in ETH if you wait for the right moments.
I agree with you. I mean, we're only a 5X away, right? Solana's at a 70 billion market cap. ETH is at 350. So we're a 5X away from that gap closing. Now that's assuming ETH stays stagnant and Solana grows. But I've been in the camp for us that we're probably never going to see over 20% Ethereum dominance ever again. I just think there's so many good products and layer ones out there now. And also with interoperability really starting to take shape in this cycle and moving forward, being able to dip into any layer one's liquidity pool from any account across any blockchain, whether it's Near, Avalanche, Solana, I think is going to diminish the value proposition of Ethereum, which was one of the reasons why when I did my layer one ranking video, I ranked Ethereum in the B tier as a layer one because of that exact reason. Forrest, I want to talk about meme coins, and I want to talk about a specific one here, and that is the Trump coin. Myself, Rocco, Robin, And a lot of people in our community, we have exposure to this, and that is all credit to you, my friend. That op-ed you wrote about it in your research hub. What is your? I mean, we were taking a look here. I mean, this thing ran all the way up from around $4. It hit $10 this morning. It's seeing a little bit of a pullback. This isn't a matter of a week. What is your? Has your thesis on it changed? Whether it's to the upside, to the downside? I'm also noticing, you're growing your hair out a little bit. Are you waiting for a certain market cap to cut the hair off, or what's going on?
Yeah, maybe we'll cut the hair off when it gets to $100 or so. We'll see. No, I mean, yeah, I'll share my screen here actually, because like the best way to kind of explain one of the reasons I'm so bullish on it is we're looking at the top. On this screen, we're looking at the top meme coins. You've got Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Pepe, like all of those. Like Shiba Inu's like it's barely a meme coin. They have like this whole layer 2 ecosystem and other tokens underneath it. I guess it started as a meme coin, but it's not like a pure meme coin. You've got Dogecoin. Everybody knows Dogecoin. It was the original meme coin. Pepe is a very, very popular meme, and then it drops off radically. With is just this brand new phenomenon that a lot of influencers piled in on. Floki is Elon Musk's dog, right? You've got Bonk, which is big because it's on Solana and it's like the one of the OG Solana meme coins. You've got Bohm, which seems like an insider pump and dump. It hasn't dumped yet, but I would expect it to bleed off. Like, ask anybody that is not in crypto. Like even people in crypto don't even know what Bohm is, Book of Meme. Like I don't know anybody who owns this. Popcat is like a mildly popular meme and it's probably fairly valued here. But then like that's a Pepe derivative, right? You've got Corgi AI, Brett. Like go ask your neighbor if they know what the meme Brett is. They don't. Cat in a dog's world, that's just a random made up thing, right? Like most of these memes are like not recognizable in any way to the average person. Then you get to Trump and it's like immediately just from the ticker, everybody knows what that is. Everybody knows who that is. Everybody knows the audience. Everybody knows what it stands for. Everybody has an emotional response to it, positive or negative. It's just like this to me. And it's been continuing to climb the rankings for a very long period of time. This to me should be ranked considerably higher, like up here with Doge, Shiba Inu, and Pepe in the billions compared to Floki or, like who like go ask your neighbor if they know the name of Elon Musk's dog. Probably not. Go ask your neighbor if they know who the conservative Republican presidential nominee is, if they know who the 45th president is. Of course they're going to know. Like just from just an audience perspective, on the backdrop of, and I'll stop sharing my screen here, on the backdrop of the election season that we're still, we're still very early on. And like we said, we still have like 6 months until the election and a crypto bull market backdrop. It's just like, to me, it's so obvious that this thing's going to, and I could be wrong, knock on wood. I haven't been wrong about it yet. But it's just, to me, it's very obviously or it's very obvious to me that this thing is going to just continue to reprice and climb up the rankings. There's just so many larger meme coins than it right now that I don't believe deserve to be bigger, and I don't believe they have larger audiences. I don't believe that they are as recognizable as Trump token. For better, you can like it or hate it. Like the guy's got a massive audience. So yeah, I just think a lot of people will identify with it and continue to buy it.
Forrest, obviously with meme coins, the worst case scenario is it goes to zero, right? But what is your absolute most bullish case scenario for the Trump coin?
Look, I'm not going to give a price target then say like, hey, this is what it's going to go to. I cannot predict that. Of course I cannot. But what I will say is in the right market circumstances, and we'll just use last market cycle as an example of what, bullish markets, really, really bullish market circumstances look like. You had Shiba Inu go to $40 billion. You had Hex. Hex was a token that a lot of people believe to be a scam that CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko actively censored. Like you couldn't. It was like a top 15, top 10 coin. I think at one point it was like a top 6 or 7 coin. Like CoinGecko, like you couldn't even view it on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. They removed it from the 2 most popular ranking lists of cryptocurrencies. It didn't have any major exchange listings, and it still went to an $80 billion market cap. It still went to the market cap that essentially Dogecoin went to, right? So there, like, I do believe that in the right market circumstances, this is the kind of like token leading into an election that could, with bullish market circumstances, could go to those crazy numbers. Is that the base case? Is that, am I saying like, I'm banking on that to happen? No, but I do think that the absolute most bullish scenario is a lot higher than what a lot of people think, because just think back to what happened with some meme coins and some tokens last market cycle. They went to just ridiculous heights as they went viral, and as people were, as we were in a very frothy market. We may not end up being in a very frothy market around the election, but we might. So I don't know. I think it's very capable of going to billions, but I think it will require the right market circumstances and the right things kind of happening and lining up for that to happen. But I do think, regardless of market circumstances, it probably will go a lot higher than where it's at right now.
Yeah, I mean, if this thing pumps, if it more than doubles in 3 days or in 6 days, off of an announcement that Biden and Trump are going to debate. Imagine when they actually debate. Imagine, as the thing draws near and closer. So it's just exciting, man. So shout out to you, Forrest. And then shout out to anyone who's holding the coin and has exposure. So a lot of excitement there. But of course, anything can happen. It is a meme coin. It could go to zero. Probably not likely, but always want to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Let's talk about Ripple. So Ripple partners with EVMOS to build the XRP Ledger Ethereum virtual machine sidechain. The XRP Ledger sidechain will be built on the EVMOS solution, with which they will seek to prioritize native Web3 enterprise applications and their compatibility with the Ethereum virtual machine. XRPL will be connected to the blockchain through IBC, which is Cosmos. In addition, XRP users can access dApps such as Orbital Apes, Forge, Osmosis, and Stride, among others. Now the XRPL community will have a passport to all the chains, while users can browse any application seamlessly. What are your thoughts on this, Forrest? Does this make you bullish? I'm almost at a point where, this talks about Ripple going public, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but, there's chatter. I would be more bullish on Ripple, having exposure to Ripple as a company versus XRP as a token, because then you have stuff like this. Ripple sells $75 million worth of XRP amid market downturn. Ripple, the company holding the largest reserves of XRP, sold 150 million tokens in May, which represented around 0.25% of XRP's total market cap. The sale comes after Ripple released 1 billion XRP in the beginning of the month, with these tokens originally being locked in monthly escrows until 2027. We know they're working on the stablecoin, which is not going to benefit the XRP token in any way, at least directly. What are your thoughts on this news with the EVM, and what are your thoughts on this as well, and just maybe Ripple and XRP as in general?
Yeah, on a longer term time frame, just based off of the chart and some like the fundamental things happening, I am bullish on XRP. I do have a small position, nothing big. I think it could take a long time to play out. It's not something that I'd put like a large amount of my portfolio in, but I do see potential upside in the future. Mainly because I think they're going to go, well, they've already started with the stable coin, but I also think that they're probably going to be pivoting into real world assets if their stable coin is successful. So imagine like tokenized gold, tokenized silver, tokenized securities, tokenized commodities, what FX, right? We already know they have a lot of partnerships with banks and, we can facilitate FX transactions. Those are very, very, very massive markets that they could potentially lean into with the real world asset narrative. So yeah, I'm bullish on XRP in the long term. But I think it could potentially be a very slow mover in terms of, until it's time for it to really take off. But as far as like the sales go and the unlocks go, I mean, like, yeah, it's not ideal, but any token that doesn't have like a fully diluted supply, like that happens with, like Chainlink does it. Chainlink sells, Link tokens. Optimism has token unlocks that go to VCs, and the VC sells. This is just the XRP, the Ripple team selling it directly rather than to VCs. So yeah, it's not ideal by any means. And they still have, a ton of tokens. I think it's like 55% circulating versus, 45% uncirculating. Don't quote me on those numbers. I haven't checked in a while. But yeah, it's pretty standard for most tokens to have some emissions or unlocks / inflation. It's a little bit worse with XRP than other tokens.
55% for us, you're right.
Yeah, it looks like 55%.
Yeah.
There we go.
My issue for us is not the foundation selling tokens, right? Like you said, everyone does it. My issue from an investment standpoint is the fact that they release 1 billion tokens every month to, quote, keep the price of XRP stable. So that is my biggest issue. And again, this is not knocking on what Ripple is doing. They're doing a lot of bullish things, a lot of great things, partnerships across the globe. They've kind of got an unfair target from the SEC back in 2020 that has really hindered their potential growth and partnerships. But the XRP token, in my opinion, is just not worth holding at the moment. I don't know. I think you can get more upside with other projects like Avalanche, Cardano, Near Protocol. But Ripple, again, if Ripple goes public, I would probably buy some shares of Ripple, as I'm bullish on what they're doing on a grand scheme of things. A project that's kind of like just exploded on the scene is Toncoin, right? Telegram coin. Telegram's got almost 1 billion users. Tether is teaming up with the Ton Foundation and Ubit to develop crypto payment solution. The partnership aims to create an encrypted payment solution. Furthermore, it will offer banking solutions to the unbanked communities and transform the way people engage with crypto, making this process more simple and convenient. Ubit's application allows cryptocurrency holders to perform cross-border transactions and make contactless payments in stores that accept Visa and MasterCard. Their participation in the partnership will ensure that retailers get fiat currency, also in those cases when payments were made in USDT, thereby propelling the utilization of cryptocurrencies. Forrest, a big knock on Toncoin is the fact that over 90% of the supply is controlled by the top 100 wallets, right? 70% by the top 10. But on the flip side, if these guys decide to not sell and the demand continues to come in, you can see very rapid price appreciation. Is Toncoin something that has landed on your radar? Obviously, you use Telegram for us. I use Telegram. And the fact that you can prompt in Telegram the wallet, and in the wallet, it kind of guides you, gives you links on how to set it up, how to do a seed phrase, how to add Toncoin. It is the one and only currency in the Telegram app if you want to pay people, tip people, whatever the case may be, kind of using Zelle-like features. And Telegram is, and I did the numbers here, and I did it in the video. I ranked the top 10 altcoins, or the top 10 layer ones, was I think their growth rate per year on average over the last 10 years for Telegram has been over 40% every single year. And so is Toncoin something that you've been eyeing? And what are your thoughts on this one? And please also keep in mind, maybe speak on it, the centralization of the token holding.
Yeah, so this one's pretty basic for me. Like, again, you have so much of the supply and so few hands that I think if you're looking at this as like a longer term investment, the easy money has probably already been made. And I personally, it's already like a top 10 token, a top 10 cryptocurrency. Like, to me, it's a little bit less investable for those reasons for a long period of time. But you can't deny the strength of the chart and the demand that's coming in for it. So I think it's like it's a very attractive chart and a very attractive token to look for shorter term trades. Like, look for 30% pullbacks to buy, and then turn leverage trades or just technical analysis based trades versus looking to like hold this thing for a long period of time.
Awesome.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's some potential for Toncoin, but I don't think you're going to get a 20, 30, 50x from it. Can you get a 5 to 10x? Probably, yeah. And again, it all kind of revolves around the thesis of Telegram. That'll do it for the show today. Forrest, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on the show, my friend. If people want more Forrest, where should they go?
They can go to Sistine.ai. It's our website, or they can find me on Twitter at Sistine Research, or find me on YouTube, which is also Sistine Research. Post occasionally on YouTube as well.
Awesome. Now, I didn't get a number from you, Forrest. What market cap are you for Trump? Are you cutting the hair off? Is there a number in mind?
Let's call it a nice even. I'll go get a haircut at $47. That sounds like a nice round number. $47.
Wonder how that number came about. Man, awesome. All right. Anyone else? Rocco, Ashley, have any parting words here?
I'm all good.
I got nothing.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, maybe I'll send you a couple Trump tokens.
Ew. Do it.
They can make you money.
Money.
Money is what matters. Anyways, Rocco. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was a pleasure. We did a Caspa video yesterday. If you're a Caspa fan, definitely a video you do not want to miss. Tomorrow's video, ICP came out with their roadmap for 2024. What does that mean? We're going to cover all of that. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, ping notification bells. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Ciao.
Big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Named according to your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the whale members. Buy the dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.